Friday, 25th July, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender LGBT community staged a peaceful protest outside the Naspers building in Cape Town. This was in response to controversial columnist Jon Qwelane's latest column, published on the 20th of July in the Sunday Sun, under the headline, "Call Me Names, but Gay is Not Okay." His column has caused a flood of complaints to both the South African Human Rights Commission and the Press Ombudsman. The gay and lesbian community have voiced their concern that Qwelane's column amounts to hate speech and can only serve to incite further violence against the LGBT community. The memorandum, handed over to Media24, calls for, among other things, a full retraction and printed apology in the Sunday Sun and a severing of ties between the publication and Jon Qwelane.
We've come up with a list of a memorandum with a list of demands that we want Media24 to implement in action, and we're quite unhappy with the Media24's management over their publications and therefore the editorial staff. One has in this country the freedom of speech, but everyone's bound by the press code, and point 2 of the press code says that one shouldn't write articles that would incite hate speech or that include hate speech or that are discriminatory, and then we believe that that's what Mr. Qwelane has done.
Qwelane has stated that he believes his column falls within his right to freedom of speech.
I think freedom of speech, sure, to a certain extent, but when you start infringing on other people's rights, when you start promoting hate speech, for instance, in South Africa, gays and lesbians are beaten up every day. Black lesbians living in our townships are the highest risk population in terms of being raped in South Africa. I think the country is still reeling from another form of prejudice recently, and that was xenophobia. So freedom of expression, I think, goes so far, but when you start promoting or supporting or condoning other people's rights being negated, you're in trouble.
Members of the LGBT community are worried about the violent effects of Qwelane's column.
I think he needs to realize that words are actually really, really powerful, because if you look at the brutal rapes and murders that have been happening in the townships of, for example, Yudi Similani, the Banyana player, she was brutally raped and murdered for being a lesbian. And I think there's a direct link between writing something in a newspaper that it's overtly homophobic, because his words, at best they legitimize those attacks, and at worst they'll promote more attacks on lesbians. So I just think he needs to make that connection.
CEO of Media24 Newspapers, Abraham van Zyl, handed over an official response to Cape Town Pride, stating that Media24 acknowledges the protests arising from the column and do not associate themselves with Qwelane's article. They state that Media24 respects the editorial integrity of its titles, and therefore it must be the prerogative of the editor of the Sunday Sun to respond to complaints. Cape Town Pride now await a response from Media24 by the end of this month, as well as responses from the Press Ombudsman and the editorial staff of the Sunday Sun.